Hello, everybody. How are you? This is Alejandro Castillo again from Mexico City. Today is Friday, September 18th of 2020. I'm very glad today because I have a great guest. 3 or 3.5 months ago, I had as a guest Cocurricular from USA Women's National Team, and today I am honored to receive Mr. John Speraw, head coach of the USA Volleyball men's national team, also coach of UCLA Bruins. How are you, John? Are you in Los Angeles right now?
I'm in Orange County right now, so south of Los Angeles by about an hour. It's where my family lives. The obviously UCLA is in West LA, but the national team trains in Anaheim. So for the last couple of years, we've been living in Orange County. So it's great to be here, Alejandro. Thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for being here, John. And well, let's talk about a little right now. How are you dealing you and your both teams, UCLA and the national team, with the coronavirus thing? And I read a couple of weeks ago that America's Sports Center will not host from I don't know next month or 2 months from now the national teams. What about that?
Okay, so first, in terms of COVID and the coronavirus, it was a very challenging summer. Obviously, for the UCLA players, their season was canceled. We were about 2/3 of the way through the season when they had to stop play. So very disappointing. And then trying to make sure that we stayed connected with the players, and they were still in school. So how do we finish their academic year, and how did we support them in that? So obviously disappointing to have your season canceled, and then challenging to move to studying online, and all the difficulties that come from shifting to just studying via the computer. And then the national team, obviously, we had a number of players last year that were playing in northern Italy, so a lot of stress about the situation as it was developing, getting them home, and then trying to determine if we could train as a team, which we attempted to do to some degree, but it was very challenging with the restrictions here in California, with the numbers of players that we could have on the court. So we never had a full training block for our national teams. And then they all left to go back overseas earlier this year than is typical. So all of them, except for Matt Anderson, who's going to go play in China, all of them are now overseas. So we didn't really train that much. We're trying to stay connected through digital meetings like this. But in terms of actually getting together and working on our game, it didn't happen. All of our players we haven't had any complications. Our players are currently healthy. For us in California, I know lots of people that have unfortunately gotten sick, some of them seriously. But fortunately for my family and the players so far, we've been good and healthy, and so that's been good. What was the second part of your question? I already forgot.
About the American Sports Center in Anaheim, I think
Oh yeah,
the,
oh yeah.
the facility will be closed for volleyball, right? I read that I
Well,
read that 2 weeks ago.
yeah, that's
Unfortunately,
correct. So that's right. We were training in a place called the American Sports Center, and it's a large converted warehouse. And we were a tenant of the larger leaseholder. The larger leaseholder went out of business, so we didn't really know where we were going to go. As it turns out, the new owner, or the new tenant, was willing to let us continue to train there through the Olympics of next year. So we're in a good position. We will not have to move. There was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 days there when we were pretty worried about what might happen next, but we're in a good position now, thankfully, and we'll be in a good position to continue training for Tokyo.
well, that's great. That's great, and well, I hope that I really hope that USA volleyball can reach the gold medal.
Yeah, me too, Alejandro. I mean, obviously, that's everybody's goal. There's a lot of great teams. I think the men's game right now is very deep. A lot of great teams. A lot of it'll be interesting to see how teams come back after not competing together for a couple years. I know some countries are in a position where they're going to be able to develop some athletes. Some are a little bit older. We're kind of in the middle. Obviously, we had some health issues with a couple of our key players. So this year, in some respects, might be beneficial for us so that we can try and get a couple guys healthy, but their health will probably have a pretty big impact on our success. So, yeah, we just hope that everybody can come back healthy and ready to go.
Yes, I hope so too. And John, how do you think this COVID thing will affect in the to reinsert players playing volleyball in a court? It's difficult. It's a challenge for all teams in all around the world, college, club, national teams. But what's your opinion about this?
Oh, it's hard. Obviously, I'm a little biased because here in California and obviously my involvement with university sports here has shown that it's very difficult to prevent COVID from spreading, particularly not on the volleyball court. I think on the volleyball court, we're less worried about spreading the virus from the ball, touching the ball. And, we're sterilizing the ball. We're using protective measures that make a difference. I think the hard part is in any of these environments, whether it's at the universities or when you're with a team, there's social elements. You're meeting with teams, you're in rooms, you're sharing rooms, I don't know, you're just being social. We're talking about young people, and they need to be social, and it's healthy for them to be social. And in those environments, it's hard to stop this virus from spreading. So I think it takes a extreme amount of discipline and patience to live in a way that really mitigates this disease. I think the one thing that I'm hoping, particularly as it relates to university sports, over the next couple months, and certainly by the time we get to talking about Tokyo next summer, is the vaccine. All the conversations about the vaccine, I'm a little. My guess is it's going to take a long time for healthy young people to get a vaccine, and hopefully it works. So my hope is that the daily testing, the ability to test athletes every single day very rapidly, that technology improves to the point where every single day an athlete comes in, takes a saliva test or some quick test, and then you can tell who has it even when they're asymptomatic. And that ability to do daily testing, I think, is our best opportunity to play sports. And I'm optimistic at this point that technology is moving along quickly enough that we might have a season in the United States, and that I'm quite optimistic that a lot of these solutions will exist so that we can have an Olympics. So I think that's my opinion on it right now. I'm more optimistic now than I was a month ago.
Yes, of course. I think, like all of us, beach volleyball are resuming some activities. Some in California 2 months ago. Right now in Europe, some professional leagues in Europe are resuming almost trainings, or the Italian league is also playing. It's challenging for all of us, but I think, well, I hope that we can watch volleyball in next summer in the Olympics, and we can resume activity in volleyball, right?
Yeah, me too. I mean, we all want it, right? We all want to watch. Um, our players want to play. Our kids want to play. So it would be great for everybody if we could all get back out on the volleyball court.
John, I know that, well, you played in UCLA. You have a degree in microbiology and molecular genetics. Is that right? Uh, Want to share with us something about more than your college career? When was the moment when, if you when you were a player, you decide to become a coach of volleyball?
Oh yeah, I never even thought about it when I was a player. I was very academic. My major was very difficult, um,
Yes.
and I was thinking about being a doctor. And after I graduated, this is in 1995,
Yeah.
1996, and I graduated in spring of 96. So early 95, early 96, I was working in the hospital at UCLA and considering taking medical entrance exams. and I just Coach Skates, my mentor and good friend and coach at UCLA,
Legend,
asked me to help.
legend, Al Skates.
Yeah, he's a legend and unbelievable guy. And so he asked me to help out with statistics. He was very innovative with his use of statistics prior to the use of computers in the game. And so I just was helping out on the bench. And obviously, I just graduated the year before. So I had a lot of friends who were playing: Tom Stillwell, Danny Farmer, Paul Nihipali. I mean, really good volleyball players. And during timeouts, even though I wasn't one of the coaches, they'd come over and we'd have conversations. What do you see? I think this guy's doing this. You know, we'd have some, and I enjoyed helping my friends. Honestly, I enjoyed being on the bench and helping assist them to become more successful. And as I was working in the hospital, I was having the opposite experience where I was enjoying being on the bench during volleyball matches. And I was looking at the medical profession and working in the hospital and the prospect of needing to go back and study. I wasn't as enthusiastic about that. And so I went to talk to Coach Skates, and he helped me get a job with USA Volleyball. He was coaching the World University Games team. And that was my first job. And so once I started coaching, once I got that job and got integrated into the USA system, I never looked back. I kept working at the hospital, but I never went back and studied for the MCATs. And so, yeah, I don't know, I never looked back. So I didn't think about coaching at all when I was playing. And it wasn't even for like a year and a half afterwards that I didn't think about coaching. But once I thought about it, and I had a couple, I think you got to get a little lucky, I think, in just about anything that you do in life. And I was lucky to have Skates in my life, and his ability to influence my chance to coach, my chance to accelerate my coaching career as a young coach with no experience. Being able to get a job in the USA system really helped get me a step ahead. And that was all I needed. That was all the help I needed. And then here I am. I'm definitely not a doctor.
Ah, that's great, great story. Thanks for sharing, John. And what then you spent some time in UCLA as a volunteer coach, right? And then moved to
Yeah.
UC Irvine as a head coach volleyball, and then you returned to UCLA in 2012, right? Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So I was a volunteer for 3 years and then an assistant coach for Coach Skates for 4. So I spent 7 years at UCLA after I graduated. And then I went to UC Irvine, had a great experience there, was in a position where UC Irvine hadn't been a good program historically. So that gave me a lot of freedom, no pressure to learn and grow and develop my own coaching and leadership style. And then when Coach Skates retired, it was perfect timing for me. I had spent 10 years at UC Irvine. I felt like I'd done everything I could do or needed to do for that program. We had won a few championships. I'd been there a decade. It was a very natural time for me to transition to a new challenge. And it has been a challenge to be back at UCLA. There's some unique aspects of being at UCLA, and it's been just fantastic. Obviously, it's my alma mater. It's an incredible academic institution. It was just voted the #1 public university in the United States of America for the 4th year in a row. Obviously, being around a lot of very, very smart people, I love that. I just think it makes me better. And all the coaches that are there are very smart and say great things, and they make me better. I'm really lucky to be in our hallway, our suite. I got Mike Seeley, who's the women's coach, who was my setter at UCLA and a really good friend. Stein Metzger, who was my other setter when I was at UCLA. We won a championship together. Great friend. Adam Wright's the water polo coach. He's the office right next door to me. Olympian, has won a number of championships. I mean, it's been a really incredible environment to be a part of. And I love the place, and I'm very proud to be a Bruin.
Oh, great! Thanks again for sharing, John. Amazing story. And what happened in the meantime with the national team? You joined the national team. I have here in 2007 as an assistant coach with Alan McCutcheon, then with Alan Knipe in London. A lot of
Yeah.
time with the national team. 13 years almost, right?
Yeah, a long time. I think I've coached a U.S. team. I think I calculated last summer. Obviously, this summer, maybe it's now 19 of the last 21 summers, or now 20 of the last 22. I've been coaching a U.S. team. I was so Hugh McCutcheon and I were coaches of a youth national team together back in like 2001. And so he and I became friends. He at the time was coaching at BYU and then took a professional job coaching overseas. And I was just about to get the Irvine job. I got the Irvine job the next year. So as he came back and was named head coach of the national team, he needed an assistant coach for the latter part of that quadrennial going into Beijing. And so he asked me to come on as the part-time assistant. My first trip with him was in 2006. And then he brought me on full-time for 2007 and 2008. And Hugh is another one of my dear friends. Incredible experience working for him. I'd work for Hugh in a second. You know, like I just really respect his intellect and work ethic. And he and I have a really good relationship. I really enjoyed working with him. And then I took a break at that point. Um, and then I came back. Alan asked me and Ron Larson to come back and help out, which is, you know, basically bringing the same staff back for London with Alan. And that, I mean, obviously I loved working with Alan. We had a great time together. I love Ron Larson, you know, Ronnie and I being the
I,
assistants in both
I,
Beijing.
I met Ron Larson 4 years ago. He came here to Mexico for the Pan Am Cup, and I was the translator and the guide of the team.
Yeah.
Really,
So you're
really nice
lucky. You
guy.
got to hang out with Ron. I mean,
Yeah,
another one of my dear friends. Lots of
Ron.
good people in
Then
the
in that team came Ron Larson with Sean Rooney, two amazing guys.
Okay. Yeah. That's right. So, anyways, Ron and I were there in London with Alan and Aaron Brock, the trainer, and we just have a great staff. And then the next year, yeah, I was in a really fortunate position because the national team job opened up and UCLA opened up, and I could have stayed at UC Irvine, and I ultimately chose to go back to UCLA. And then about 8 months later, Doug Beal called me. He was still CEO of USA Volleyball. And he said, "Hey, I haven't found anybody to coach the national team. Would you consider doing both UCLA and the national team?" And I had thought in the past that was a system that would work. I think it probably only works if you're coaching at UCLA. Just because the support, the financial resources that a UCLA brings allows me to hire 2 full-time staff members at a really high level. That gives me the freedom to go coach the national team entirely during the summer and not have to worry too much about recruiting and some of the things that go on in the off season. So I'm really lucky to be able to do both. I mean, I really feel like I have 2 of the better jobs in volleyball on the planet. Like, I think if you talk about some of the premier jobs, I can't speak to the women's internationally. I don't know it as well. But if you talk about some of the premier jobs on the men's side in the planet, you know, I mean, whether that's, Perugia or Modena or, Kazan, I don't know, some of the great opportunities to coach. I talked to Nick Gerbich yesterday, Zaxa, like some of these places would be unbelievable places to coach. I think you'd have to count UCLA at the top. The resources, the facilities, the contracts, the security of contracts. I think most coaches, if they had the opportunity, would want to coach in the United States. It's a really, really good situation. The level isn't the same, obviously. We have this age demographic that's younger, Um, but it is a really, really great job. And then, of course, the U.S. national team, and I'm really patriotic, and being able to represent my country is one of the great honors of my life. And so I just really, to be able to do both is pretty incredible, pretty lucky.
No, totally agree with you. And well, in the same city, UCLA, Anaheim, so it's great.
It's great. It's great.
A lot of coaches that I know may be a little jealous about that.
Yeah. I wouldn't blame him. I mean, I'm deeply grateful. I understand how fortunate I've been all the way back in the day. I mean, I had opportunities to go play at other places besides UCLA, and just that choice to go to UCLA and how that impacted my life in just tremendous ways. Not just with Coach Skates, but some of the other people, my teammates, my friends, how that institution has really impacted my life professionally, academically, personally, um, and just what that led to. I just sometimes it still surprises even me. I mean, here I am coaching both these teams. I don't. Sometimes you got to wonder how the heck that happened.
Great. Um, a professional club offer to go to coach in maybe Europe or another place?
Have I ever received those?
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I have had some offers come my way, not too seriously, because I think they reach out and they know I've got a really good situation. So, um, it's not that I haven't ever thought about that as a possibility in the future, but I just can't. I can't imagine ever really leaving UCLA. To be quite honest, I just it's such a good situation. Sometimes you watch that level. Sometimes those club teams are better than national teams because they're pulling all the best players off of national teams into one place. And certainly to coach at that level would be a really interesting experience. But for my family, for longevity, for the experience, for my alma mater, I mean, I just am in really a unique and special place.
Great. John, have you ever played or coached beach volleyball or just indoor?
Well, I grew up in Southern California, so I played a little bit. After I graduated UCLA, I played on this FIVB development tour in the Canary Islands with a player by the name of John Bierman, and we went over there and had a great time. He's a good little beach player. I didn't know anything about playing beach, so he had to be a little patient. But no, when I graduated in '95, and at that time, as a non-national team middle, like I was a middle, I was 6'5". I had an okay arm, no jump serve. I was really rangy, but I wasn't that big. I don't know. I knew when I finished playing at UCLA that was it. Like at that time in the United States, there weren't agents. There was no way to send video anywhere because there was no internet. Like it
Yes, I
was just,
remember.
that was it. Okay, good. I had fun. Next. And I did play a little bit of beach, made a little bit of money, but not a lot. So coaching was a better way for me to go. So
Great. John, let's back a little to COVID, and because of this, do you know that it's a possibility that a lot of sports are moving their seasons to next spring, or some programs are closing, especially Stanford. Do you think? Well, what do you think? How much do you think these decisions could affect not just volleyball but other Olympic sports in the future?
well, I think we have to be concerned. It's not just volleyball. If you've watched recently, Iowa cut sports, Minnesota cut sports, Stanford cut sports. Like these are major programs that are eliminating opportunities for academic and athletic experiences, and that's just I think really tragic because I think we're forgetting that these experiences are so personally beneficial for the individuals that have those chances to go and compete at a university. Um, this is what the term is co-curricular, meaning this isn't extracurricular. This isn't your free time where you're playing ball. This is co-curricular. That was the whole point of collegiate and university athletics. Is this is a part of your personal growth and the application of some of these academic concepts in a practical environment. And I think we're losing sight of that. And I understand that football generates a lot of revenue. It also has a lot of cost. And so the football revenue and how that's redistributed to the other opportunities, it's an interesting subject matter. I just wish that other decisions were made. You know, I mean, you're going to pay a lot of people a lot of money, and then at the end of the day, what are you going to do in order to make that happen? In some situations, you're going to cut opportunities for student athletes, and that's a bummer. And I mean, I understand, I get it. Like, obviously, men's volleyball exists because football is successful and it drives revenue in the United States. So I have to be humble and deferential to that reality. I just wish at the end of the day, athletic directors made different choices about how they would manage their budgets. I just wish they would consider alternatives. I wish they'd understand that you hear a lot in the press releases about maintaining a standard of excellence. And this is, if we can't provide a championship experience for our athletes, we're going to eliminate it. And I remember, I mean, when I was at UC Irvine, we were winning championships. I had maybe a little bit more than half of the allotted scholarship dollars. My assistant coaching salary budget, my first year at Irvine, when we started building that, and 4 years later, we were in a Final Four. My total assistant coaching salary budget was $15,000. And if you go back and you talk to those athletes that were on those teams, Jimmy Pelzel, Spencer Bemis, David Niffen, who's now the coach, Jared Jensen, Monty Tucker, like you go, Kyle Weicker, you go down the list and ask them what their experience was. Across the board, they think it was the best thing they did in college. And did that provide a championship experience? Yes, it did. And so I think that we've lost sight of what it takes to be a winner, what it takes to create a championship experience. Yes, being at UCLA and having the resources and having the brand name of UCLA academically behind the recruiting process makes a difference in the level of athlete that we have. But the nuts and bolts experience of what they're in college for across the board. I mean, it's better to have the opportunity and the experiences than it is to try and like provide the perfect meal or a bus instead of a van, or, you know, I think we're losing sight of that. And that's unfortunate. And it's not just unfortunate for men's volleyball. We've lost one program at this point. We hope that we might be able to get it back through some significant fundraising efforts. But it's men's tennis, it's swimming programs, it's track programs. At William and Mary, they cut women's volleyball last week or 2 weeks ago. I mean, there's a lot of athletic opportunities where we're losing them and we're not going to get them back. And well, that's, I think, just disappointing. I think it's disappointing. And at the end of the day, you just got to wonder, there were budgetary decisions that were made down the road, and ultimately that's forcing these athletic directors to feel like they need to cut sports. And at the end of the day, that was the decision they made. And now that then they talk about the championship experience. Listen, I know that's baloney. That's baloney. It's not right. And so that's my feeling on it. I think we need to be concerned for all Olympic sports right now.
Oh, totally agree with you, John. Well, we don't have a lot of time, so I will be quick. I have two messages from both Mexican friends. Octavio Medina, now living in Seattle, Washington, says, "Greetings from Seattle to John and Alex. A super interesting volley talk with a high level winner coach." Yeah,
Thank you very much. It's really fun to do these Zoom sessions and be able to share, my experience. I, I I think, like I said, I've been super fortunate, and I've been surrounded by Coach Skates or Hugh McCutcheon or Alan Knight or Doug Beal and all these people that I've been around, Ron Larson, through the USA pipeline and the UCLA experience. And I've just been really been able to be fortunate enough to be surrounded by a lot of winners. I think if you want to be a winner, if you want to learn how to win volleyball matches and the attitude and the mentality it takes to do that, you need to surround yourself with people who win. And
Yes, of
I've been
course.
really fortunate. What's that?
Yes, of course. You have to be surrounded by the best to be good. You have to be surrounded by the best.
Yeah, and I was lucky. I just was surrounded by a lot of winners.
Yes, of course. And Alejandro Bárcenas from Mexico says, "Greetings from Hidalgo, Mexico. The next Olympic champion, John Speraw."
Oh
I
gosh,
hope so.
I hope. I mean, it is going to be a crazy summer. I mean, it's so unique, right? I mean, you haven't trained together for, at that point, it'll be almost 2 years, 18, 19 months. Um, yeah, and then you're going to get it all together. And then you have, what, 2 weeks to train, VNL, a couple weeks to train, go to Tokyo, and then play the Olympics.
Yeah,
What a unique challenge, right? What a unique challenge to get everybody back on the same page, the continuity, the teamwork. I think it's going to test us all, and that's a really exciting challenge.
I think, John, that the next year VNL will be the greatest VNL in the last 20 years. Did
Uh,
you agree? Very competitive.
yeah, because
Players want to be in their best shape to get for the Olympics.
yeah,
Next year, VNL is going to be great. Spectacle.
it's funny. We were talking about that just yesterday with some of my staff at USA, and just I think the last number of years, VNL is so many matches. It's really difficult to play,
A lot of
particularly with,
travel.
it's too much, and
Yeah.
so you lose out on opportunity. It's great for young players because they're willing to play a lot, but then the fans don't get to see some of these players that they want to see as much as they would like. But next summer, I think everybody's going to be all in because that's opportunities to compete. And what's the balance? Like, do you want to send all your guys to 3 or 4 or 5 weekends? Do you need some time to train? How much time do you need? Like, decisions about that. Like in years past, in Olympic years, teams like Italy and Russia haven't played their veterans at all. Other teams like Brazil and I would say for the most part, USA, we're all in. So you have these two very different philosophies about how to handle VNL in an Olympic year. And that'll be very interesting to see. Do they change their mind? Do they do things differently? Brazil's going to be all in. You know that. And of course, the travel schedule is going to be very different too. Like we go home, Russia, Serbia, China, Bulgaria, home, and I'm assuming back to Italy. I don't know if they're still hosting the finals or not. So that China trip is brutal. I don't know that. I don't know that I want to do that. Maybe I don't know. We have all kinds of thoughts we have to go through. So it'll be very interesting to see the decisions coaches and programs make regarding VNL as it relates to their philosophy of preparation for an Olympic Games. How old are their teams? How much training time do they feel they need? And how is that affected by the schedule? So I bet you there's some teams that are European teams that are in Europe the whole time. I mean, what an advantage. So we're going to have to think a little bit about how we want to handle next summer.
Yes, of course. Which do you think could be the biggest challenge for USA volleyball team for the next year Olympics or this time of preparation from now to Olympics?
Our biggest challenge is clearly health. Taylor Sander, obviously, it's no secret he had shoulder surgery, and Thomas Jeshi had
Thomas
shoulder
Jeski,
surgery.
he missed the last 2 seasons. Thomas Jeski, great player.
Yeah, I know. I mean, 2 years ago, we had Taylor, Aaron Russell, and Thomas Jeschke, and they were all playing great. And I was like, gosh, USA, 3 elite level outside hitters, Matty Anderson on the right, Ben Patch is getting better. Like, we're in a really good place. And I think there's some countries that have, at this point, it varies during time, but have more depth. I mean, I think if you look at Poland right now, what do they have? 8 good outside hitters. For us, it's a little more thin because we get pretty young after that. But you get Garrett Moisatia, and then it goes TJ DeFalco, Brendan Sander, guys that are really young. And so we're at this point not as deep. So getting Taylor back and healthy, getting Thomas back and healthy are really big variables for us. And then how we just how Maddie's doing on the right. I'm excited because this year he signed a contract to play opposite in China. And then of course China, there's some stuff going on there right now. I'm not sure how that's all going to work out, but if he could play opposite, that would be advantageous for us because that would give him some opportunity to come into the summer a little bit more prepared. It's always difficult for him, and I understand that, to shift between the left and the right. So yeah, I don't know. Health is number one for us for sure.
Yeah, Matt Anderson left Zenit Kazan 2 years ago because he wants to play on the right, the way he went to Modena and right now in China. I read a couple of hours ago that China is reconsidering to let male players play in the China league.
Right. Yeah, there's been a lot of emails that have been going back and forth and letters between the FIVB and the Chinese Volleyball Association over the last week. So, it'll be interesting to see how that is ultimately resolved. I hope that they have the opportunity to go play in China. I mean, it's a great situation for the players, great situation for Maddie. And I know there's several women from the national team that are going there too. Jordan Larson and Tori's going, I think, Kelsey Robinson. So I think, we have a number of Americans that are going over there, and it's a great situation for them. So I hope it works out.
Yeah. John, I know that you are a little of time. I can spend talking of volleyball with you for the next 6 hours. Maybe we can reschedule a second part. But I want to ask you a question that I do for a lot of people. Which real Mexican food do you like the most?
Oh, well, okay. Hold on a second. Listen, I want all your Mexican fans to know how much I love Mexican food. Okay. I've spent a lot of time in Cabo, and over the years, I had a really good friend that lived there. And so I'd go down there a lot. And first of all, I love enchiladas, love burritos. I don't, it's really a difficult question to answer. I love it all. I mean, my wife asked me today, what would you like for dinner? And I said, enchiladas. I swear, I just said that 20 minutes before our talk, Alejandro. She asked me, I was like, I want enchiladas. So let's go with enchilada. That's a pretty good start.
Oh, that's great. With a Corona, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. Or a Pacifico. I'll take either one. I'm not. If you offer me either of those, Alejandro, I'm going to drink it.
Perfect, John. I hope we can schedule a second part of this. I know that your agenda is tight, but thanks a lot for being here. It's here it's 10 before 3.
Yeah.
10 before 1 in Orange County. So please, just John, a final word, a final message for other people that is watching and listening.
Well, first, Alejandro, thanks for the opportunity to chat. I like talking volleyball too. Obviously, it's not just for my profession, but I really love it. And I know that I could talk volleyball with you for 6 hours. This time in our history has been really challenging. I know that my job description on a daily basis has changed dramatically but the workload has not. And so I wish I could stay on longer and chat, but I still have like several different Zoom meetings later today. And it's, I just know that this has been challenging for a lot of people because it's been so hard and so much change and potentially isolation and friends getting sick and fear and anxiety about the potential to become sick. And I'd just like to say that we're all in this, together. I think my athletes, everybody watches our athletes, Maddie, Micah, Taylor, Thomas, Max, Ben. It's just Eric Shoji sent me a text today. I just, we all want to go play ball. We all want to go get back out on the volleyball court. We all want to live our lives as we did before. I think it's probably going to be a little while before we can get back to a real normal life. I don't want to be pessimistic in saying that, but I think it's probably realistic that we need to resolve ourselves to understanding that this is a challenge that's going to continue for some time. But I look forward to the day when we can all get out on the volleyball court and play with all the fans from Mexico City or anywhere that are in the stands and being able to watch and cheer on, whether it's Team USA or Team Mexico or any other team in the world. It'll be an exciting day. I hope that day happens sooner than later. I really hope it happens in time for the Olympic Games, because I think that could be a really incredible opportunity to celebrate getting through a tremendously challenging time in our history. But I just wanted to just say thanks to all the volleyball fans. I know that they want that too, and their support has been tremendous. I know our athletes feel the same way, and that just wish everybody good health, stay safe, so that we can all cheer together in a stadium soon.
Yes, of course. Well, I just want to show you a picture. It's in the World League of 2013 versus Russia.
Nice.
I was there.
Where was that?
Yeah.
Was that in Long Beach?
In Long Beach, the pyramid, yeah.
Yeah.
I was there. That shirt, Ryan Ammerman gave it to me because I also was the translator and the interpreter, the guide for USA team in the 2013 Pan Am Cup.
That is unbelievable. Well, I'm glad we had an opportunity to meet. I didn't even know that, Alejandro. That was a while back. Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah, in that time, in 13, the team came with Sean Patchell and Alan Vince and Nick McRae.
Yeah, Nick McRae. That's great. And obviously Ryan Ammerman, he played for me at UC Irvine. Is a great guy. You got a great jersey. Good for you.
Yes, of course. Great setter, great guy. And well, I enjoy. Last year, I was in Colima in Pan Am Cup doing music as a DJ, like Jeremy Ruche. I met there Milan Sarkovic, thanks to Milan that he gave me your contact.
Yeah.
And I met there again Joshua Twaniga, Kai Russell, a lot of great guys.
A lot of great guys. So I'm glad you had an opportunity to meet and spend a little time with them, because great guys. And I'm glad that Milan connected us, and look forward to another time when we can chat some more.
Okay. Thanks a lot, John, for being here. Gracias a los que nos vieron esta transmisión conjunta de Plus Volleyball y Conadep. Thanks a lot, John. Hope to see you pretty soon. Take care.
Thank you all, Andrea. Okay, ciao.
Bye. Bye.